All right, guys, so what we got here is the Springfield Armory Hellcat. Receipt. So I haven't shot this gun. This is how it comes. One thing I will say real quick, point out, is that I did change the floor plate on this magazine. Let me grab the one that comes on it. Okay, so that's the one that actually comes on this magazine. It has a little finger extension, but it doesn't add any capacity. It's flush as far as that goes. It just gives you a little extension. I'm not a big fan of adding length without getting something in return. So I'd rather have the flush fit floor plate. So other than that, this is exactly how it comes, brand new. This is the OSP version, which is the optics ready. Has this little plate on top, 2 screws. It comes off. You can put a red dot on that sight. I believe the sights may be different on this model too, but I'm not going to swear to that. So let's just get this party started. I'm going to take a look at this. This has not been shot, and we're going to kind of compare it to this. This is the P365. Everybody's heard of this, which everybody's heard of that too. But I know there's a lot of videos out here comparing these two. They're kind of their only competitors in this particular niche. So a lot of videos out there, but I have this one. I just purchased it. I'm going to shoot it, so figured might as well do a video on it as well. So let's go through the box real quick. Comes with this little cheap made in China little soft case, manual, of course the extra floor plate, lock, all that junk. Nobody gets excited about that stuff. So let's get this out of the way. Okay, let's stick a mag in here just for comparison's sake, and we will try to get them as closely lined up as possible. And you can see there's virtually no difference in the size as far as this profile goes. Length is pretty well the same, height pretty well the same, width, the slide widths I'll say are pretty well the same. Now the frame on the Hellcat is a little thicker, but that is to kind of recess these controls down into the frame. They don't really protrude from the frame, whereas the frame's thinner on the 365, but your controls stick out. So I guess that's a preference thing. One dimension that I can tell a difference in is from here to here on both of these firearms. When I'm holding them in my hand, I can definitely tell this one is thinner this way, and this one has a little more length to it right here. And for my hands, that feels better. I have big hands. I know every gun reviewer says they have big hands. I wear a 2X leather work glove. That gives you a little bit more context. But just real quickly, I will show you. They both have finger grooves, so I'll measure inside the first finger groove here towards the trigger. We'll get an idea. 1.764. Inside the first finger groove here on the 365. 1.643. So not a huge difference, but there is a little bit. So let me get on the ridges of the finger groove here. Give the widest point. Widest point there is 1.768. And the widest point here, if I can get on it, 1.835. So as you can tell, there is a difference this direction. Honestly, I don't mind it being larger there. Like I said, it actually feels better to me. So since we're starting with the grips, that's the direction we'll go. One of the first and obvious comparisons that everybody talks about is the Sig 365 is a 10-round magazine, whereas the Hellcat is an 11-round magazine. Now that is with flush fit, of course, just standard, the original capacity. So you get the one extra round with the Hellcat, whereas 10 plus 1 still not bad for a gun this size. The spare magazine for the 365 has the finger extension, but it is flush. It doesn't add any capacity. It adds length. I can barely get my pinky on there with it, but it doesn't add capacity. I know they sell extended mags for these that have higher capacity, but that's what came with this gun. The Hellcat comes with a spare mag that actually adds 2 rounds. So it does add length, but you also get extra capacity. So 11 plus 1 and 13 plus 1, 10 plus 1, and 10 plus 1. So that's out of the way. Let's talk about this stippling. I know they had a lot of marketing on this Hellcat stippling. It was some sort of engineered design that was supposed to be just market blowing. I mean, it's supposed to be the greatest thing since sliced bread, where if you pushed on it, it got more traction. I don't feel it. It just feels like regular stippling to me. Matter of fact, the part of this gun that has the most traction with stippling is the end of the guide rod for some reason. I don't know why that's stippled, but it is, and that actually has more traction than anywhere else on the gun that has stippling. The P365 actually has a little bit more aggressive stippling. It grips my hand better than this just over-engineered plastic stippling that they marketed so highly on this gun. Yeah, so that is what it is. It just feels like standard stippling to me. So, moving past the stippling, we will start talking about one of the big talking points that set these two guns apart, and we'll show that is clear, and that is clear. But let's talk about the trigger. This trigger is very Glock-like, has a flat face trigger. It's kind of spongy, a little bit of take up, but I mean it's not a bad trigger. But this is a much better trigger in my opinion. It feels better. It's got a lighter break, and let's just see. Oh God, I got this thing out again. Let's just see what the difference actually is. Maybe 4 pounds, 3.3 ounces. Four pounds, 15 ounces. £5 pounds, 9 ounces. I did it again. You have to bear with me, I'm kind of dumb today. 4 pounds, 11 ounces. Let's do that one more time. £3 pounds, 15 ounces. So, I mean, they're pretty close. They're really close as far as weight. This one just feels better to me. It may be different for you. I don't know. But I give a win to the 365 as far as the trigger goes. I know there's a lot of talk about the fatal flaw of this trigger here on the Hellcat, where lateral pressure is supposed to keep it from firing, locking it up. I can't replicate that unless I do not push the trigger blade. I mean, if I push sideways on it and push the blade, it works just fine. Yeah, if you pull back on the trigger before you push the blade, yeah, it locks it up, but I don't see that ever becoming an issue, because who's going to pull the trigger and then try to roll your finger to the front and pull the blade while holding the trigger to the rear? If you miss the blade and it don't fire, you're just going to readjust your finger to get a hold of that blade. I think people make a big deal out of nothing a lot of times, but to me, that's not a big deal. It may be to you, it's not to me. All right, so the trigger. Talked about the stippling, we've talked about the grips, the capacity. Let's talk about the traction on this slide as far as the slide serrations go. The Hellcat actually is not nearly as aggressive as the 365, both front and rear. I can get a really easy purchase on these serrations, which these, I mean, I don't have any problems with it, but you can definitely tell that these are a lot more aggressive. Just sitting here grabbing them, it's much more aggressive on the 365. So, and some reason we have serrations on the top of this slide as well. Not sure why, maybe for an overhand or something. I can't see myself ever utilizing those. Yeah, that's to each their own. I mean, it may benefit you in some of your style. I'm not sure, but to me, I could have done without them. Next thing, let's talk about the sights. And I'll try to get you a decent little view here. And you can kind of see there that you can see the Hellcat sights are quite a bit brighter. I do like this U-type sight. I put the Trigicon HD sights on a lot of my carry guns. Really like them. The rear sight on the Hellcat here does not have tritium though, but we do have a high-vis yellow front sight with tritium in the front. On the 365, we have a black rear with tritium, and we have a green front sight with tritium. But I mean, the green, it's not, they're not bad. They just don't stick out as much as that fluorescent yellow on the Hellcat. And we have tritium in the front as well. So, kind of talked about a few of those things. The last thing I really want to talk about is not something that I can compare the two fairly with, because I have not carried this gun and I have carried this gun. This gun has been carried moderately. It's been shot some. I'd say it's less than 500 rounds. But I have noticed that this finish is really starting to take a lick. Right there on the front, it's already wore off. On the rear of the slide's wearing off. The rear sight, the finish is wearing off. And I could contribute this to the holster, because it is the holster I carried in is Kydex. Kydex is kind of tough on finishes. So, I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with that. That's just nature of Kydex holsters a lot of times. But back here on this rear sight and the rear of the slide, and even on the extractor, the rear part here that sticks out a little bit, the finish is wearing on it as well. Those areas are not contacted in my holster at all. So this is just essentially from everyday wear and tear, just exposed to a t-shirt and whatever I may brush against, or console in a vehicle or whatever. So I can't contribute this wear to the Kydex holster. I've seen a lot of reports. I actually have a friend of mine that owns a 365. Yes, he's a redhead and he has that acid sweat, but I've seen his gun and it just be completely covered in rust. Seen a lot of reports on the 365 finish not being very durable, and that's kind of holding true with this gun as well. It's not rusting, but it's definitely showing a lot of finish wear. I actually bought the exact same holster from the exact same supplier, and I'm going to run this one in that holster and see how the finish holds up for this, and hopefully I'll report back to you on that if there's any interest in it. Both have loaded chamber indicators, square notch on top of the barrel here on the 365. Really visual aid, or really visual hole on the top of the slide of the Hellcat. They both have about the same field of view once you look down in them though. So with that being said, I say we go put some rounds down range and see how they do side by side. All right, guys, so you saw the Hellcat shot its first 10 rounds flawlessly, even left-handed. That one was in the left hand. I'm gonna kind of talk about it while I'm doing it here. I did notice upon loading the mag that the Hellcat magazine spring is pretty stiff, but it's not as stiff as the 365 magazine was fresh out of the box. So I'm sure it will continue to get better on that mag. I haven't tried the extended one yet, so Don't know. Well, let's just try it right now. But that one wasn't as bad as I was expecting, honestly. That 365, I know when I first got mine out of the box, it was really a task to get it loaded, and I use a Uplula quite a bit, a mag loader, and it saves your fingers, but even with it, it was kind of stiff. I believe that's 13. Yeah, 13 on that Hellcat mag, and wasn't that bad. Let me go ahead and load up these 365 mags, and we'll get to shooting some. Okay, so since I've not really had much time with the Hellcat, I'm going to go ahead and run both of these mags through it first, and then I'll switch to the 365, shoot both those mags, and then we'll load up again, and I'll do back and forth mag for mag. But let's see if we can ring some steel. I don't know what the point of impact is with this thing. The only time I fired it, you all just saw and was being goofy, so we'll see if we can figure it out. Okay, I'm shooting it just a little bit left. I'm sure that's me just not being used to the gun. Okay, slide didn't lock open. That was probably on me. I'm bad about hitting that slide stop and holding it down. I didn't shoot that one too well, but like I said, first time really trying with it. Let's see how I do with the 365. Okay, well, it seems like I'm doing a little bit better with the 365 so far. Like I said, I've shot it. It's definitely under 500 rounds. That was the first couple mags through the Hellcat. I'm going to shoot some more through it, and then we'll do the back-to-back. Go from there. All right, let's try this Hellcat one more time. I'm gonna run both mags through it, then we'll switch to the 365 again. All right, again, slide didn't lock back. Fairly certain I had my thumb on it. I'm bad for that. So, try this mag. Yeah, I definitely think I shoot the 365 a little better, but I don't know. We'll see here. Let me shoot it. 365. Yeah. I think it's safe to say I shoot the 365 a little bit better. That's just me though. You may take the Hellcat and shoot it better than you can the 365. I don't know, but like I said earlier, I feel like the trigger on this 365 is quite a bit better, and that's just me. That's my personal preference. The Hellcat is a great gun. I mean, at this range, this is longer than 7 yards right here. That's about 15 yards or so, 12 yards from the edge of this table. I think it's 12 yards of the first target. But I mean, and those are definitely smaller than targets you would be shooting at in a defensive manner. And this gun is not a target gun. It's definitely a defensive roll gun. So, I mean, I'm not saying it's inaccurate. I'm just saying I shoot the 365 a little bit better. So, yeah, that's kind of what I think about these two. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. Would tell you to go head out and look at our Facebook page, but it's gone. I got Zuckerberg. I am on Instagram though, so if you want to see some preludes and stuff coming up, go over and check it out and follow me over there. And until next time, guys, stay tuned.